When you've spent a few weeks scrolling through endless gas range options, you start to wonder if the cheap budget models are really saving you anything. I've been there, bought a low-priced range that looked good on paper, only to discover the burners flicker, the oven temperature swings, and the whole thing feels more like a hobby project than a kitchen workhorse. That regret is what makes me pause before I click Add to Cart. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. So, does the Ramsay by THOR Kitchen 30-inch professional gas range feel like a smarter buy, or is it just another shiny box with a celebrity name attached? First off, the thing that sets this range apart isn't the logo on the front. It's the tilt panel touch control. Instead of a traditional dial that you have to wrestle with while a pot is simmering, you just swipe your finger across a glass surface and the flame adjusts instantly. In a real kitchen, that means you can keep your focus on the food, not on fiddling with a knob. The panel also lights up with a subtle white projector light that shines onto the surrounding controls, so even in a dimly lit dining room setting you can see exactly where you're setting the temperature. It feels like something you'd find in a professional test kitchen, not a home countertop. The continuous cooking grate is another design choice that matters when you're cooking for a crowd. On many lower-end ranges, the grill surface is made of segmented metal that can warp or become uneven over time. THOR's grate runs the full width of the cooktop without breaks, so you can slide a large sheet pan, a roasting tray, or a massive skillet across the whole surface without worrying about hot spots. I tried it while making a Sunday roast. The pan sat flat, the burners stayed evenly lit, and the meat cooked uniformly from edge to center. That kind of consistency is what you want when you're juggling multiple dishes, and it's something you don't get from the cheap alternatives that often have a gap in the middle of the cooktop. High-performance dual burners are the workhorses of this range. One burner is tuned for rapid boil, perfect for pasta water or a quick stock, and the other is a low-output simmer that maintains a gentle heat for sauces that need to stay alive for hours. The difference is subtle but noticeable. The high-output burner reaches a rolling boil in under 2 minutes with a full pot, while the simmer burner stays steady at just the right level to keep a camel from curdling. For anyone who actually spends time in the kitchen beyond reheating leftovers, that duality is a real time saver. Now, let's talk about the panoramic viewing window. Many gas ranges hide the flame behind a small circular port, which can make it hard to gauge how much heat is actually under the pot. THOR's window stretches across the front of the oven, giving you a clear line of sight into the cavity. While you're roasting a chicken, you can peek in without opening the door and losing heat. I found it especially useful when I was baking a batch of croissants. The window let me see the rise of the dough and adjust the vent without interrupting the bake cycle. All these features sound impressive, but they come with trade-offs that matter when you're deciding whether to spend a premium price. The first hidden cost is the learning curve. The tilt panel is responsive, but it's also touch-sensitive enough to register an accidental swipe if you brush your hand over it while moving a pot. That can cause a sudden flame jump, which isn't dangerous but can be startling if you're not used to it. It takes a few dishes to get the muscle memory right, and during that adjustment period, you might find yourself double-checking the flame after each swipe. Another practical weakness is the oven's capacity. At 30 inches, the range fits nicely in most standard kitchen cabinets, but the interior volume isn't as generous as some of the larger 36-inch professional models. If you regularly cook multiple casseroles or a big holiday turkey, you'll feel the limits. The panoramic window helps you monitor, but you still have to be strategic about pan placement. For a couple of people who enjoy cooking but don't host massive dinner parties, that's a reasonable compromise. For a family that does weekly big batch cooking, you might outgrow it quickly. Energy consumption is also worth mentioning. The high-output burner is fast, but it draws a noticeable amount of gas when you're at full blast. If your utility rates are high, the cost of running that burner for extended periods can add up. The flip side is that the quick boil means you spend less time with the burner on, which can offset the higher draw. In my own kitchen, the net effect was neutral. I saved a few minutes on each boil, which translated into a small reduction in the overall gas bill. So, who should actually buy this range? If you're an enthusiastic home cook who treats the kitchen like